we're here in Miasto in Italy. I've come to spend 2 weeks with Krish and Amana, assisting and participating in some of the Learning Love workshops they run. They're 5-day retreats. Why do you teach us? Why do you spend so much time with these groups, getting across to us, helping us incrementally, bit by bit, drop into what we find?
For me, I can say my passion is consciousness, is growth. So for me, it's my own journey. I'm always curious to learn, to grow, to experiment, and to share, and to help and support people to become more conscious. That's for me the passion. To wake up out of being automatic, out of being asleep. And there's so many different layers to that, where we might believe or think that we're awake, but we're actually just following like a program. So that's for me. That's
so. If I was to ask you why, though, why would you like people to be more conscious?
Well, I think people are suffering, and I think they suffer because they're not living the life that they know that some deep inside they're meant to live, that they don't have love in their life, that they're plagued by self-doubt and self-criticism and unworthiness. They're plagued by fear. So I think that Amana and I have reached a place where we're not suffering anymore. But personally, it's been a journey, and a journey to create love, to create creativity, to live the life that I know I'm meant to live, and to transmit that to other people. That's basically what it's all about for me. And as Amana said, to teach consciousness and meditation as a way to deal with the ultimate issues of life, which is mortality and, well, that and everything else,
I mean, I could also say that, so you're saying why teach consciousness? And I would say, because it is already happening. It's like, we are human. And so the thing is that we're no longer animals where we don't have a choice to just be, eating and living. Like, we have choice now as humans. But the point is that when we start to wake up just a little bit, then there's the suffering that Krish was talking about. When we're just asleep, there's no suffering, because you don't even know. You just, there's no freedom, there's no choice, but there's also no suffering. As we start to become just a little bit conscious, there's also a lot of pain we become aware of, because then we see where we're not free, right? So that for me is that now we're in that kind of middle phase, bringing more light. And if there's still so much darkness pulling us down, it's still, there's a temptation then for drugs, for things, because then we go asleep, right? Alcohol, all the addictions pull us back, and then there's no problem. When we're there, we're just, in oblivion, right? But we're human, and there is that longing to become all what we are, the potential, which is much more than just animal. Not that something wrong with animal, but we're much more than that.
I would say that there's two criteria that would make people somewhat ready for what we do. One is that they have to realize that they're suffering. And two, they have to realize that their suffering is not because of somebody or something else. See? So, in other words, they have to be willing to take some responsibility and then, find the courage and the motivation and the persistence to do the work, because, particularly in the American psyche, everybody wants a quick fix, But our work is not about a quick fix. It's about deep, intensive work with your wounds, with the way that you have defended yourself, the way that you're basically blocking feeling, fear, insecurity, loss, and so on, and then find the courage to go for your life, which takes guts, and the environment that we live in doesn't generally support that. We have to create a new environment that will support that. The environment basically creates people to stay robots, to stay asleep. So they have to have that guts to come to a place like this, which is a meditation community, or, to realize, wait, that happened to me at one point in my life where I realized, wait a minute, this is not what life is about. I got to find something else. And then my journey began.
And we use a lot relating difficulties as the doorway, because through relating with anybody, whether it's a partner or a friend or a child or anybody, we're confronted with ourselves. So it's just like, that's just the way that we use that friction in the connection as a way to go deeper. I mean, it could be anything, and sometimes people also come to the work with issues, different issues, body issues or issues with addictions or with work, or, their creativity is not flowing. So it's not always relating, but relating is a good doorway, because we all need connection, and it's so painful to be separate, and so we're kind of using through that longing for connection to that deeper connection with everything.
It does seem to me that human beings, the connection is a far more complex and inherent part of being born human as opposed to another animal. It also comes with a pot of worms for lots of us.
Well, I think we can connect in two ways, and this is fundamental to our work. We can connect from what we call the child state of consciousness, which is a place of basically wanting to be rescued or wanting to stay in control. And that's the way most people relate, from an unconscious place. Either neediness or horrible unworthiness or demanding expectations, power games, drama. This is all the child state. And what we teach is to evolve to a more mature state, where you're not coming from a begging place or expecting somebody to be there for you or to rescue you. You're coming from a place where you have some structure inside and some ability to be with yourself. So then it isn't coming as a beggar or as a demander.
So another way of saying it is also that, the trouble in relationships happen when we want to find that outer connection, when we're missing the inner connection. So that's what we're teaching a lot, is helping people find that inner connection where you can be grounded and rooted, even if apparently there is some misunderstanding or conflict or whatever, but you're still finding that deeper connection inside, and the connection with the other, where there can be space for people to be different, people to be unique. We don't all have to feel the same way, and it brings a richness to be able to allow that, the differences. So it's connection on a deeper level, let's say, than just this, more, let's say, immature way of just belonging because we're the same. So
I'm interested in how I might best support, not necessarily my children, but young people within our community as they change from child to adult, because it seems to me that without conscious help with that, we're adults and we're still acting from the child, and particularly we don't realise that things that you've taught me, like trust, comes from me now. It was fine for it to come from my parents. When I was a kid, I had to look outside me for trust as I learned about the world. But now I have to know that trust is not out there. There is no person I can trust outside until I have the trust inside. That's one side of it. And I can choose to take responsibility for my own feelings and therefore parent myself. I so wish I'd been taught this as I changed from a boy to a man, because I don't know, I'd have wasted a lot less time flapping around in the drama.
Because of people's childhood trauma, they create certain stories about themselves, about life, about another person. And those stories are usually negative. Like, for instance, somebody else has to be there for me, or I'm not worthy of love, or I have to stay in control, or all these sort of negative stories that are the natural consequence of traumas that happen to us as a child.
But when we're a child, those beliefs are correct.
Right,
Is that
that's
right?
So
I
we
mean,
can help
as a
people
child-
change those stories.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the point. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Good reparenting, which is what a good therapeutic experience does, is or good parenting does, because they're going to create negative stories even if you're the most marvelous
Yeah.
parent in the world.
Yeah.
So your job, our job, is to help them identify their stories, their negative stories, and make new ones. For instance, instead of, what are all the horrible things that happened to me, which is good to know about, but then what can I give to the world, or what is life wanting for me to give? That would be a good story, or I have the resources to deal with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That would be a good story, as opposed to, I can't deal with anything, something like that.
I mean, I would say I think the biggest support for kids is really to, first of all, to live your own truth and to be authentic, because they really feel you. So more than what you say or what you teach them, it's really who you are. So if you go for your joy, if you're authentic, if you're real, they're going to feel that and be inspired by that. So that's number one. If you take responsibility, they learn to be responsible, right? And then I would also say that it's about, honoring their uniqueness, tuning into them, not putting any kind of specific rule on them just because of some idea, but really tuning into each individual, because each child or teenager is so unique and so special and so amazing and have these incredible qualities. So I think it's a little bit like a plant, that it just grows by itself. You just have to find a way how to protect it and nourish it, support it by recognizing it, seeing it, and then we can help them to connect to their feelings, let them know there's nothing wrong with anger or unworthiness or jealousy and insecurity, and help them be with the feelings, which is something that most of us didn't learn in school, how to connect with feelings, give space to it, instead of just acting out unconsciously and escaping into addictions or hiding, but having the courage to admit this is what's going on, or I feel really not motivated and I have no trust in life, and just to let everything be there, I think that's how we can best support them. And then they flower, because they all of them have so many gifts,
I imagine that older societies had that built in place with rites of passage, conscious rites of passage, where there was an honouring of that shift into adulthood, and part of that is taking responsibility for your own pain. As a child, it's right that we look to our parents to soothe us and give us that space when we're hurt, lost, frightened. But as an adult, if we keep looking to our partners for that, it doesn't work, does it? And for me, I really feel the loss in our society of that moment. Because, for instance, for me, I had to wait until I was in my 30s and in a lot of trouble before I came to see you guys. And I still believed it was all out there. I was suffering, but I hadn't realised it was my stuff. The little bits of support, healthy support I did have around that age, I did learn Tai Chi then and meditation, and I look back and I'm so grateful to those adults around me that gave me that little window into possibility. But I think, I would love to see more accessibility at that age.
Exactly.
Particularly.
I mean, now it's touching, because here right now there's a group for teenagers, and it's happening right now. Every year when we're here, they always have this teenager group, and it's so touching to see them all together and sharing and expressing and in a healthy way releasing all their rage and their frustration, and coming together, being creative, playing music, dancing. It's beautiful. So this kind of things, those kind of things are amazing, and of course it would be amazing if that could happen more, because often the kids are just fed all this information, and it's not so helpful for them personally how to live a fulfilled life.
We learn a lot from modelling, don't we? This is one thing I get from being around you guys.
That's the most
important. What you teach is great, but there's something about being in that energy of two people who live day by day a functional, loving, intimate relationship where you're not enslaved to each other.
And that's why we're doing this work, to help people to take responsibility and enjoy their lives, and then they will be different role models for their kids.
We try to make it as simple as possible, in the sense that two really, really important things that people need to witness or create in their life. One is that connection is possible
Mm-hmm.
and healthy, and it can happen without enslavement. And that to let go of control and to really open your heart is possible, but only if you also have yourself. So, there's two stages of development in childhood. One is symbiosis, which is a healthy connection, which rarely happens. A healthy connection means I love you, I'm here for you, to the best of my abilities. I'm fallible, but I'm here, and I welcome you, and I'm just a person, but I'm, and I will be there for you when you're suffering, and that's healthy symbiosis.
Yeah.
Then there's the separating phase, which is I want you to be yourself. I want you to fly like a bird, and I'll do everything I can to support you, but you have to find the risk to leave the nest. And once you're flying, you may fall on your face, but you get up, and I'm right there to help you. That's the second lesson. So, in a way, if we boiled it down to just those two things, that healthy connection, which means that we're here for each other, but we're not enslaving each other, but go for your life. Both people go for their life. And if something doesn't feel right, they'll say, wait, that doesn't feel right. Now that ain't easy. That ain't easy. That's tough. And most of our parents didn't have that. They didn't. They never did the work, So, yeah. So, we try to. I mean, we're in a healthy relationship. We've been through a lot. We've been together a long time. So we do model healthy love. That's true, and we're honest about it. We don't. We're not. We're walking our talk. I think we could say pretty confidently that we're living what we teach, and so people will see that, and that's not hubris. I think that's just kind of the result of a lot of inner work,
And I think what's part of, so one aspect of that is, of course, the dynamic together and so on, but a huge part of it, which I think is so important and often missed, is the inner connection for each person, that deep inner responsibility for each person to find their own roots, happiness, joy, meaning. It has to happen inside to be able to really have a healthy relationship, even with the most perfect tools or communication skills and so on. It's not going to work if there is a sense of leaning energetically.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And that's what's so important. So it has to be eventually like two trees rooted in the earth.
Yeah.
And then the branches can dance and meld and merge, But it cannot be this like two trees leaning on each other, because eventually that's not sustainable in the long run. It might be fulfilling in the beginning to kind of hold on to each other in the symbiotic state, because we've missed that, and so often in a relationship that's the initial phase. But it's not sustainable in the long run, because only when we connect inside and find that nourishment and joy and fun and take care of ourselves, and we can only do that ourselves.
Yeah.
We cannot expect it from the partner to take care of us or to protect us or to get inspiration and nothing,
Yeah.
Once you start to get that yourself from the inside, then it's easy to be together. You can really appreciate the differences, the uniquenesses, the different rhythms, And
one of the obstacles to that is that most people, because of the child state of consciousness, are looking for happiness. They want to be happy. But they don't understand that life is not really about finding happiness. It's about finding meaning. It's about finding what is my life really what gives me purpose in my life. And being willing to know that life has its ups and downs. And when I'm feeling great, good, and when I'm not, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But that, our culture again doesn't support that. Quick fixes, psychopharmacy, take a drug, it's like, Prozac generation, this kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would even say like this idea, if I want to be happy, then you turn your back to all the other side that could be so interesting to investigate. It's like if you want to be happy, you're focused on something, but you're not seeing, wow. So for me, it's much more about being with what is, whatever it is. So if there's pain, wow, let me go into that, explore that. Like if that pain is there, it must mean that it has some gift in it that perhaps I don't see now, perhaps it's not clear, but who says it has to be clear or that I have to know what it is? It's there, and for some reason it needs to be felt.
Yeah.
And I think that's so basic to our work, that it's all about how to open to reality, to life inside of us each moment, rather than grasping, saying I don't like this, I want this. And that's like a child saying, I don't want this, I don't want this. It's like, okay, you can live like this, but chances are it's going to be more suffering. Because life is the way it is, and it's bringing you at this stage whatever it is that you're facing. You know, so let's see what gifts it also has, right?
That's what I love about the retreat space. That, like, day after day, to go deeper and deeper. That there's time for us to actually go in and see that being in that horrific feeling that in my day-to-day life would be no.
That's right.
Is actually it's it doesn't all have to be happy. That being ripped apart is so rewarding.
It's hard to do that without support.
And it opens.
You need support.
But it opens the door to that deeper space that we normally cannot access because we're so busy with our responsibilities, with things happening, so many things happening that we don't have time to use all these beautiful growth opportunities to go deeper. That's why it's so important to do a workshop or a training or retreat to really take away all the distractions from life.
One of the things I've found from working with other people as well, but mostly with you guys, is that you talked about the vertical state, just being present with the now, and then there's the horizontal state, which we also need, turning up on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, like I said, otherwise I couldn't run a retreat centre or do whatever. But essentially it's a lot of teaching the vertical because it's been missing in our lives.
Right.
And what I find, the more time I spend there, now the vertical, which is just in the moment, it starts to inform my horizontal. In that way, I now find myself living a vastly different life from how I was before, and I can see that the horizontal puts the bricks in place and makes the arrangements and finances it and organises it. But I feel happier now, or more content, or more fulfilled, or just a million times better. For lack of a better word for it, because I'm more direct. My direction is more informed by all that horror that's in there, as well as the joy, and the joy starts to come through.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's what happens as we're more connected. Then the joy and the happiness, all of that just starts to happen naturally. But if we're not grabbing for it, with that connection, it just starts to happen naturally. Yeah, that's right. It's beautiful.
So I think what you're talking about, the horizontal, is kind of right action. What Buddha called right action, which is to live in a way where horizontally, where it nourishes your soul, as opposed to making messes of things. And by creating this growth center, it gives you tremendous soul nourishment because you're doing something that is clearly in your flow. It's a dream, and you made the dream happen, which is incredibly gutsy, But when you do something horizontally that is so gutsy, it 10 times nourishes the soul. Because you look out and you go, wow, I went for it. I got on the horse, and I stayed on the horse. I fell off a few times, I got back on, And that's kind of what we teach too. Get back on the horse. Sure, if you fall off the horse, and if life throws you off the horse, which it will, then okay, lick your wounds, maybe get some help to help, but get back on that horse,
The other thing I wanted to say about the horizontal, about the bricks and doing the practical things, it's like it can be so beautiful to do something in the world, and but only if you're able to like see also the bigger meaning of it, like what you're doing with the center, right? But it could be also for some people may not be able to yet create work that's really fulfilling for them. They might not be able yet to earn money doing something that they truly love, right? But so I think it's important not to fight that, but to see that, okay, I might have to, let's say, clean houses or whatever it is I need to do, but to just, you can still make that fulfilling and put your totality into it and see that it creates a higher purpose of you getting the money, and then you can still spend time doing the things that you love to do, right? Because I see often that kind of confusion or that split, like not wanting to do something that seems mundane, but actually nothing is. There's no you know, separation in that way. Everything can be a beautiful exercise in just presence, right?
We have a lot of people that we're training who can't make their money just by giving sessions or leading workshops. They can't, because first of all, it takes time, and second of all, it's also an inner process of developing the confidence, the authority that's needed, which is not easy if you're in front of a bunch of people, you know. You can imagine, right? That's what you went through. But with time, so what we tell people is don't rely on that for your livelihood, because otherwise, we have one particular woman that's wonderful, but she can't make a living at it, but she's constantly feeling bad for herself, sorry for herself that she and you know, we told, be a barista, go to a Starbucks and make coffee, you know. It's like, you know, I mean, it took me personally a long time before I could manifest this. So I did other things, you know. I was trained as a doctor. I didn't like it. It wasn't my thing, but I did it. And I did it because that's how I made money, and it allowed me to go to India. It allowed me to do what I wanted, but I wasn't loving it, but I did it. And then slowly I created my dream, you know, like you. You had other things you did before. And, yeah.
Well, I find it funny because I definitely, when I came to this work, it was about the pain of relationships, which is my relationships work.
We're not so good at that time.
I wasn't. Exactly. Yeah. So I certainly wasn't looking for a new way. Vocation or a contribution. I wasn't. I thought I'd found it. In fact, I was sure this is what I was born to do. I loved my work, but doing this work allowed me to peel. Well, I peeled it back and suddenly went, actually, this isn't what I was born to do at all. This is just. It was just a reaction.
Something that came along.
It was just a reaction to the environment of my small childhood, and so then I found something else came along. Almost felt like accident, but obviously it wasn't. It was like grabbing me and dragging me the way I needed to go, and I know it was the way I needed to go because I'm excited by it now. I feel it, my bones. I love it.
I mean,
that's the point.
That is really
it doesn't
important.
become work anymore.
Oh no,
it's play.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. I don't consider this work.
No,
I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm doing it with my beloved, and you know.
And I think that is the most important, also to keep having fun. You know, like do it because it's nourishing, it's fun, and not be too focused on the outcome. I mean, I always feel, look, it's for sure it's a lot of energy doing a workshop, but I always feel like even if just one person, you know, is touched or it connects them a little bit, I know that will spread, you know, like ripples, like in the lake, and that will transform their life, and it will transform the lives of people they come in contact with. So even if it's a huge workshop, if just one person is a little bit touched, then it's worth it.
That's the other thing that we teach a lot is this whole concept of entitlement, because some people show their trauma by expecting life, people. It's a kind of sense of entitlement. And included in that sense of entitlement is life should always treat me well. It always treat me the way I think I deserve to be treated, which is not the way it's going to be. So dealing with entitlement, wow, that's a tough nut. Because I was just recently doing a session with someone who was absolutely convinced that his lover should not have behaved the way his lover behaved. Should not. It's not. And when I said, yeah, but there's a lesson there for you. Yeah, are you justifying his behavior? I'm going, no, not. But I mean, he was, you know, he behaved the way he did. So, I mean, where's your growth here? You know? Yeah, but no. And this went on and on and on for most of the session. You know, because he couldn't let go of this idea that his story is based on trauma, which I have compassion for, that people should not treat other people in that way.
Yeah. And the fact is that it happened. You know, it happened. So the thing is always how to be more aligned with reality. Because if we stay with the ideas of how things should be, we're far away from reality, right?
And that brings us back to meditation.
It's
doesn't
like
it?
Yeah, and also looking at how you're repeating something from your earlier trauma.
Yeah.
So when I said, yeah, but this may have something to do with your father or mother. No, nothing like that. I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And again comes back to trust, because saying like it shouldn't be like this is not trusting that perhaps it's perfect the way it is, even though it's painful, right?
Yeah.
It's painful, and maybe I don't understand it. I don't know why life is giving me this, but a deeper trust in knowing that somehow it's right, you know, and it's helping to smooth those edges. You know, it's a growthful process that, you know, kind of smooths us, makes us softer, makes us gentler.
And we
more
encourage
human,
people that
you
they
know?
could rage against the fact that things are not how they would like.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's human. But don't stay with that. Don't stay with the raging, with entitlement. Stay with the raging as it's painful, but then see, wow, what can I gain from this? You know, that's the next step.
Because otherwise, if you stay with the fight, then you become bitter and complaining and angry, and you may isolate, and you may feel very separate from everybody. And it's
The
such a
dark road.
painful place to be, you know. And you can justify all your mistrust voices, like they are like this, and she or he is like this, and then you just close. Not
And
only to
often,
them,
yeah.
but you close to the pain that could transform you.
Yeah.
And often we don't give people what they want, and they walk away feeling ripped off in a way, like we couldn't give them a quick solution or whatever, you know. That's okay. I mean, that's part of the deal if you take on this job, that, you know, you're not going to please everybody. We just have to keep trusting our message.
Some
you know.
people are not ready to be pleased, Chris.
I mean, the thing
Or
is,
unpleased.
that's right. I mean, you know, many people come to this work not because they're interested in transformation. No, they don't want transformation. And they don't realize what a painful process that is. They just want the quick fix of
For sure,
the
that
good
was me.
the good relationship
Oh
or the
my
happy
God.
life, and that's it.
And then I booked in with you guys for 2 whole weeks. And I'd never been to anything like this. It was horrific, for, you know, in a sense, because
I know.
I didn't know what I was coming
Right.
into.
Right.
And looking back, it was quite some years. I mean, I immediately found it useful and exciting and fascinating, and
Right. But-
wow, look at what's going on here. Just so much about that time, I remember. And it was a good few years after that for it to sink into the point where I was like, now I'm ready,
Right.
now I want to come,
Right.
because I want to get free of this.
Right.
I want to get free of this.
That's the insight.
Wheel of pain.
That happens.
That's the insight. You know, they say
Yeah.
for transformation you need courage, insight, and persistence, perseverance.
Perseverance.
You know, and
lot
you
of
had the
people-
insight that
yeah.
wait, this is what I need. You know, and the courage to hang in there. You know.
But even with you, it took some years until
Yeah,
that courage and that
sure.
insight came, and that happens often. That maybe people come to the work and they're not quite ready, and that's okay. And sometimes it's like a seed inside,
Yeah.
just a seed, and then at a certain point, things happen in their life, and you know they're ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
One woman said before she came to this last seminar, I'm counting on this seminar to give me everything that I need so that my life will work from now on. So I said, well, come and then we'll see. I'm not sure how she left, but another person said to us, very sweet, she said, if I had known how intense this was, I never would have come. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But now I'm so
Sure.
But now
grateful.
she's
so
very,
grateful.
you know,
That was
now-
my first
But her
experience.
life is now flowering.
And
so, you know.
that's another thing that I think
know.
that is really important because I've had so much experiences with therapy, which was good, but also a little bit damaging in the sense of I could take it, but because I got, you know, so it's really important they feel safe, you know, and you know, Mama's so incredibly feminine and soft and creates a sense of safety, and I tell jokes, and I just want people to feel like this is you're okay here. We're not gonna damage you. And look, we're in this too. You know, we're not above you. we're all dealing with the same thing ultimately. We're
And
human.
that so carries.
Huh?
It so carries.
And we never put any pressure. Like we really let it be like everybody's responsibility, you know, how deep they go, what happens. We totally, you know, back off. We just hold the space so that it's possible.
The beauty of that, of the way you're teaching, but you're so in the process with us in the room. That's one of the strongest impressions I got. Like when I admitted to myself that I would like to teach this work, which was like, I could never teach, you know. It was like,
But it's your humility that
Yeah.
made us feel that you would be a good teacher, not only of our work, any kind of work you want to do, because you're not, you know, on a power trip. You're just, hey, you know, we're all the same. Come on.
yeah.
You know,
But
I'm
this
learning.
is what I got from you guys, that the minute I'm not actually working this,
Right.
living like this,
Right.
day by day,
Right.
with my wife, with
Right.
my children,
Right.
with the people I work with
Right.
the guy doing the gardens, the minute I'm not
Right.
interested in continually coming back inside and working it, I've got nothing to give, teaching wise. I've got no, and I see that so clearly with you, that even though you've been doing this for decades and decades and decades, if I open my
that many
eyes,
decades.
say again?
Not that many. decades.
Only three. 1, 2, 3. Many decades.
There must have been some past lives there. But I still have that, you know, if I open my eyes during a meditation, you're in there with us. There's no like, oh, we're teaching this now. And really, that's been a great lesson for me, because it enables me, one, to trust you when I come as a participant, but one, to trust that I can pass this on, because it's not about having a degree or knowing so much.
Right, right.
It's about being able to
That's
be
right.
Empathy.
present with people.
And feeling them.
Empathy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Because
And feel-
empathy is not sympathy. Empathy means you're there.
Yeah,
We're all one.
yeah.
And there's no difference, you know. It's like, yeah.
So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a rare gift. So you know, when that's the main criteria that we want to carry on. You know, is empathy, but also positivity about life. I think that, you know, yeah, shit happens, but let's give it a positive spin.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're not tragic heroes like Hamlet. We're like, you know, we you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like Ramdas says, if you haven't got a sense of humour, it's just not funny.
That's cute. That's cute.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Middle of a schedule.
So beautiful, and we so much look forward to coming to your place.
Yeah.
We really look forward to
Me
that.
too.
You know, so many years
Alhambra
now.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.